Live from VentureX Studios in Frisco, Texas. It's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
Well, good Monday morning.
No, don't say it like that.
It's not technology. I thought the technology was screwing up.
No. Gail has already popped on and said Manic Monday. So do we go
Right.
with that again?
Heck
Or Murphy's
yeah.
Law Monday?
Both. All of it? All the above? I think we
Is it
vote
Murphy's
for all
Law?
the above.
Is it Murphy's Law if you get every single red light?
Yes,
There was actually traffic this morning. It was weird.
I would say so.
It was really weird. I hear feedback.
Somebody.
That's not mine.
Oh, it's me.
It's not me.
It's me. It's my phone.
So-
Happy Monday to the crew.
If you're looking at me and you're seeing me on my phone, it's because Chuck and I are still trying to work out the timing as I am sharing
As we
out
share alike
to
to
all
our
of our
friends.
friends.
We love that.
Gave you a whole
we
2
love
minutes.
The crew.
Oh, no.
We take 9 minutes. Well, we're super excited.
We
do
take
have
437 minutes.
Yes, or 35. Just depends. We've got Dr. Norm Clothier coming on today. New analysis. This is actually analysis he has done himself based on a new CDC report. It seems like every Monday when I think we can talk about something else with Dr. Clothier, there's a new, and not just new, JP, a substantial, very significant piece of information that comes out. Now there's the talk, some people are testing positive for COVID, but it's how much COVID do you have in you? And some people don't have enough to have in them. And then there's the whole CDC report. So it'll be interesting to hear what Dr. Clothier has to say.
Second go round. First case in the United States. 25-year-old. Second run. He had it in April. Tested negative May. And then
Positive again.
Poof. He's got it again.
See,
so 90 days, they're saying.
again,
90 days.
Again, we do not know everything there is to know. Literally every Monday, Dr. Clothier has something new to report on that is substantial. So,
it's like
so we're
he
glad
is,
you tuned in.
He said he could almost comment daily.
Oh, there's
By the hour.
Yes, it's like by the time this show rebroadcast at noon or 11:30 is 11:30 when we
Yes, 11:30 to
rebroadcast.
1.
Okay,
11:30.
Something might have changed.
Yes. Something has changed.
I mean, it is
Something
what it
has
is.
changed. So good morning. Welcome. Here's your coffee. So,
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Here. There you go.
Ding.
Ding.
Clink,
Clink.
Cheers.
All that stuff.
I don't have
your-
that sound effect.
Where's my sword? I need a sword. Like I want to feel Renaissance-ish like. All right, do we have Dr. Norm Clothier joining us this morning already?
Renaissance Fair this year.
I'm hoping they have one. I mean, that was a time of like dirtiness and
hopefully-
disease and rats and.
So it's much like today. Welcome to 2020.
So we should be able
what
to.
was it? Who was it that posted in our group? Was that did you post that or did Dr. Good? It said like number 13.
That was
worst
Dr.
number,
Good.
then number 6660, and then 2020. It said, "Oh, blue, please."
Yeah.
Anyway,
I had a friend
Female
that took a
dog in
picture.
heat.
that was a
I had
funny
somebody
meme.
that they were over in Grand Prairie or something, and there was a big sign on the corner, and it had COVID-19 equals 666.
Well, and if we
Wow.
don't, do we have Dr. Clothier or no? Okay, good. Let's go ahead and fire off with this then. If you can go ahead and go to my screen, Charles, while we're waiting on Dr. Clothier. We've lost a great one, I'll tell you, and he was young. To have lost him. Here
very
are some of his
young.
comments at the 25th Annual Awards, where the Black Panther had picked up several awards.
Well,
and
Black Panther was the first ever superhero movie to be nominated for an Oscar. I mean, like that's
Yes.
ginormous, and he was
Yes.
the lead in that.
so here's a little bit of his
talented.
commentary. We have lost again a good one in Chadwick Boseman. Here we go.
I didn't think I was going to have to speak. Obviously, we thank SAG-AFTRA for this moment of appreciation and celebration of this film.
Now,
Thank our
keep in
director,
mind,
Ryan Coogler.
he was sick. He was sick during this time.
See, and that's what when they were promoting this movie after they had filmed it is when he must have been
Gotta run through the names of the
diagnosed.
execs, Bob
4 years
Iger,
he battled
Alan
it.
Horn, Nate Moore, Louis D'Esposito, Victoria Alonso, Kevin, I gotta save the best for last. I'm not gonna forget.
Again, see the personality come out right there on stage in a very impromptu
Kevin
way.
Feige. And this cast, this ensemble that when I think of going to work every day and the passion and the intelligence, the resolve, the discipline that everybody showed, I also think of two questions that we all have received during the course of multiple publicity runs. And one is, did we know that this movie was going to receive this kind of response? Meaning, was it going to make billions of dollars? Was it going to make $1 billion? Was it going to still be around during this award season? And the second question is, has it changed the industry? Has it actually changed the...
And with that, I want to stop there because that's where he was at. That was his mindset. And it wasn't let me parade in front of you rioters or looters or
he was
anything
a class
like
act.
that.
No,
It was very, very classy.
He wanted to impact change, and we'll talk
Right.
maybe a little bit later about some of his iconic roles because I think we have Dr. Clothier on.
We do.
But at 43, he had an amazing film career, but just cut too short, too young.
So hats off to you, Chadwick, and your family and prayers.
God bless your family.
And I can't wait to come up and visit you in heaven. I want to ask you about all the stunts.
He was in good shape in Black Panther. That's all I have to
Boy,
say
he
about
was.
that.
I'll tell you somebody else who's in good shape and keeps us in good shape every week is Dr. Norm Clothier with Family Healthcare Associates. Good morning, Dr. Clothier. We're going to be bringing you on. Hopefully you can hear us. Can you hear us okay?
Good morning.
Just a second. All right. And as you can see
Can you hear
behind
me?
us. Oh, there you are. Good morning,
we
Dr.
can hear
Clothier.
ya.
All right.
Good
How are
morning.
ya?
Technology still is just so emotional around me. I just,
Yes.
Well,
I've
hopefully
tried
we
to
can.
get my connection some counseling, and it's just not working out.
Well, hopefully we can get you back on video again. You're such a handsome, dapper young man.
Well, that's very kind. I tapped the video deal, and it seems like it just doesn't want me on there. So
Again,
someday.
emotional technology.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, big topic today. Big topic.
Yeah.
A lot coming out surrounding the CDC and COVID-19. I mean, kick us off, Dr. Clothier.
Sure. There are two things I want to make sure that we really try to sort through, one of which is the CDC report that 6% of people who have died had COVID-19 only listed as their cause of death.
Wow.
And I think there have been strange amounts of misinterpretation of that data. And so I just wanted to clarify that for people. There are approximately 180,000 people in the United States who have died from COVID. It's listed on their death certificate as either a cause because of other underlying medical conditions too, or just the cause, which is, if it's the only one listed. So strangely enough, it seems that when they said 6% of people had COVID only listed, there seemed to be a public response that said, we said the deaths were way lower than the CDC had said, and this means very few people have died of COVID. Well, that's very few people who died of COVID who also, or who didn't have another cause of death listed. So to clarify that, at 180,000 deaths, if there were 6% with only COVID listed, then that still means about 11,000 deaths from only COVID. Let me also say that what that means is there was no other underlying cause. So this could be a 21-year-old who got COVID and died.
Right.
I don't personally see any victory in saying, there are only 11,000.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, and I think there was a grave misinterpretation that because they said 6% of deaths were only COVID, somehow people heard only 6% of deaths were COVID, and that's a very big difference between the two phrases. So there had been about 11,000 deaths with no other underlying cause. The others have between 2 and 3 other causes on average listed. And I just want to point out 2 of those, well, really 3 of them are extremely common. One is other respiratory disease. That could be asthma, that could be COPD, emphysema, that could be pulmonary fibrosis. That's a lot of things with other pulmonary disease. And then there's hypertension. 80% of people over age 65 and at least 50%, some studies show as many as 70% have hypertension by age 50. So we're talking about, it basically is really hard to find somebody with no other underlying cause. And then the other really common one is diabetes. Obviously there's type 1 diabetes found into childhood, so-called juvenile diabetes used to be the older term. And then, I have type 2 diabetics who are in their 20s and a lot in their 30s, a host of them in their 40s, and a bunch in the 50s. And by the way, a bunch is more than a host.
Right.
But
well, that's a very technical medical term.
I was going to say, and is that between a bushel or a peck?
Yeah, that's right. So we put a little aliquot of information in there just for you there. But anyway, it's just super common to have underlying causes. So, one analogy I kind of make, let's say you had this crazy situation where you had a car repair shop that had an exit directly onto a highway. You said, well, we brought our car in and it had, 2 or 3 repairs. We pull out on the highway and we're hit by a car and killed. Is that different than somebody who brings their car in? They say, well, this is pretty okay. It doesn't look like anything needs to be repaired. And you pull out onto the highway blindly and you get killed. You're still dead from the virus. If that's, the fair analogy there. Whether there's an underlying other aging issue or other reason or not, it is true about, it appears from those statistics that 94% of people have underlying conditions. But remember, while the average is between 2 and 3. I saw one number quoted as 2.1 and one as 2.3, so I'm not exactly sure how many on average. But that could be as little as one other condition would be in that 94%. One of those conditions being hypertension, one being obesity, one being asthma, one being diabetes, and, immunocompromised state. That could be somebody with a rheumatologic disease that is on immunosuppressive therapy. And so there are a lot of reasons to have one reason listed other than COVID. And then those that had only COVID listed were 6%. But again, that's over 10,000 people that presumably a year ago wouldn't statistically have been a death because COVID was not around a year ago.
So Dr. Clothier, if I may just for a moment.
Yeah.
So the doctors from New York that took to social media and to the news, and they said, we are being told by officials that we are to label the death of this individual as a COVID-19 death when we don't believe it was COVID-19. We believe it was, whatever, ... Does that fit into what we are now hearing from the CDC in their report?
No, because these deaths were all listed as COVID-19. And at this point, they haven't tried to go back and prove or disprove the actual number. So let me just say, though, I don't know of a scenario I've ever even come close to being told to list something as a cause of death that was not. I think there's some degree of a misunderstanding there. I don't know of doctors who would list something that they don't know to be true. I've never met one. And it's interesting. In medicine, we're trained to be extraordinarily independent. We're supposed to think independently, treat, the individual, not the system, base things on evidence and, the history of the patient, the response, the symptoms, the findings. I just don't know doctors who would say, oh, they want me to put COVID out, just put COVID on there. That just is something that is beyond me to think about as an American doctor, because we still have some degree of freedom. We are largely dictated to, in some circumstances, by insurances and hospital systems, medical systems, but the specific diagnosis is still up to us. And I would wonder how much that has actually happened versus internet rumor or, other. I know there's anecdotal evidence. There are a couple of people who have been out speaking, saying the hospital decided what somebody had rather than the doctor. And I would just say they need to revise, or they need to review their employment contract if they're being told to make a diagnosis that's not true.
Right.
Well, it's probably going to be a couple years before we fully understand what the ramifications of COVID-19 and what exactly how all the details, because we're going to have to see
Of
the
course.
research, right?
Yes, it was genotyped less than 9 months ago. And I keep mentioning that because, well, actually, I'm sorry, that was last week. This week, it's 9 months ago. So, so we're gaining time. But, I would still say we don't have even a year of experience with dealing with it. We also don't have, because nobody a year ago would ever have developed a test for COVID-19, because COVID-19 did not exist. And therefore, I think any test is still, some degree of inaccuracy, because it took forever. It took until last year before we had a strep test that we felt like, for strep throat, that we felt like was 100% reliable. And that was after many years of development, like 40 plus years of development. So, nobody could have had 330 million COVID-19 tests taken around that were proven to be extremely accurate, because nobody had ever seen the virus. And, it's just all new. So I think we do have to work through, a lot of the issues of whether a test was accurate, whether it was a definite, COVID or just other pneumonia, other devastating virus that killed somebody. The bottom line I know is that there are about 180,000 deaths in the nation. There's something around 11,000 in Texas right now. And those are deaths that are from respiratory disease that appears to be viral in origin and probably is COVID. And, if that gets revised from 180,000 to 178,500, I would still say that's a pretty serious virus if it's killed 178,500 instead of 180. So, I think as we learn more about it over time, sure, the numbers can be revised. And there probably will be some tests that are somehow redone that have been in storage. And when we have a more, reliable test, we'll go back and look at that. But dealing with what we're dealing with at the moment, I think we're doing what we can to warn people that this is a serious virus that can cause death.
Are there any?
And so,
Sorry,
yeah,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, are there any past viruses like the swine flu or things like that we can look back on in history to see, how that,
Sure.
because we
one
how we
reason
learned
that-
about that one.
Yeah, the numbers about swine flu in the 1917, 1918 pandemic then, are widely variable by death because there weren't tests. So, you can look up, there were, 5 million deaths worldwide, or you can find there are 50 million deaths worldwide. And it's because there really wasn't any accurate testing. It was based on, evidence by symptoms. Like, for instance, if a farm family had a young man from the Great War then come home with the symptoms, and 6 members of the family died after fever and cough, they were considered to have died from swine flu. Whether that is, ever proven or not, obviously it's unlikely if they're out on a farm and dying. And, I think we still have probably, in my mind, some deaths that are COVID-19 that we haven't been able to prove because someone, didn't have access to a test, that they're found dead at home or whatever. And then, on the other hand, we probably have some people who, frankly, were dying of something else and got COVID-19, and maybe it kind of tipped them over the edge to death. And that would still qualify as a death from COVID, although the underlying reasons are the more significant. If you're 96 years old and have end-stage cancer and end-stage dementia and get the virus, you're probably going to die from the virus, but you're also probably going to die within a short amount of time anyway. So, that makes that's one of those deals people don't want to think about, but it makes it the reality that, we all live at some point on the edge of death, because that's the human condition. We all die. Nobody
Right.
wants to talk about that. But,
Well, yeah, that doesn't make you the popular
it's
fun
a
doctor,
reality.
but it is what it is, and
Yeah.
I you and I have talked about this I consider myself to be healthy. I mean, I'm blessed that, knock on wood, have not had to deal with cancer or anything yet. But with high blood pressure, even though it is controlled, it's still there. And then with asthma, I mean, I could get pneumonia, Dr. Clothier. Pneumonia could kill me. A bad case of bronchitis could kill me. So, yes, if I were to get COVID, I'd be a high risk. And it is what it is. So, I just think you have to be aware. You have to be smart. I don't think we should all panic over the numbers when they come out, because like you've so eloquently said that, by the time this show rebroadcast at 11:30 today, there could be something significant that has changed.
Oh, definitely. And that's another reality we have. And the other thing I think we need to really think about is still, how do we stop the spread so not as many people are infected? And I just want to briefly say there's a very interesting article that came out, and I want to make sure I give this guy credit. I don't know him at all, but, he's the author of the article, and it's Jose Luis Jimenez, who's a professor of chemistry at University of Colorado at Boulder. And his specialty is aerosol analysis. And, there have been a lot of discussions about how COVID spreads. There have been three main topics there. One is the fomite spread, which is, a surface. Like, for instance, if I sneeze onto my desk and then somebody comes by and touches it and touches their nose, can they get the virus? That has already been shown to be pretty unlikely. The apparent lowest source of infection is the fomite spread. So despite all the talk initially about, you got to clean every surface every few seconds, and most every, restaurant, theater, whatever business is cleaning surfaces a lot, I think that's admirable and proper. But that spread seems to be extremely low on the scale of risk. Then there's the droplets, and that's where we talk about the 6-foot social distancing, because if you basically speak, cough, sneeze, any of those,
right,
there can be droplets that form, and then the virus does seem to stay stable in droplets for quite a while. Some studies have shown as long as 3 hours, some have shown a little more. And so that's one where social distancing makes sense. But the biggest appears to be, and according to Dr. Jimenez, aerosol distribution, which is airborne. And I just wanted to leave this thought that his comparison, and the reason that it's compelling to wear a mask to prevent spread, is that if you're talking to someone for a while, we're not talking about just passing by, like walking by somebody exercising in the morning outside. That's not going to be a high risk of aerosol spread. But if you stop and talk to someone, especially like indoors, like at a meal, for instance, or in a bar or in a church even, or if there are people talking, laughing, singing, all are significant ways to spread aerosol. And it's kind of like smoke. If you're around somebody who's smoking and you're 2 feet from them, you're going to inhale some of that smoke. And we all know the dangers of secondhand smoke.
Right.
And if you're in a room with that person for 15 minutes, you're going to inhale quite a bit of smoke and have the risk of secondhand smoke. And so think of it that way with the virus. And if you could tell someone, go outside and smoke, or stop smoking, or don't smoke around me, don't smoke inside, that's very similar to wear a mask so you don't spread viral particles all around. And you need a mask that fits, and you can't pull it down, past your nose or mouth to talk to people, because that defeats the purpose. But you need a mask that fits, because aerosol particles can go out around a mask. So if you wear, for instance, a handkerchief over your face to look like you have a mask on, but it's open at the bottom, you still have some aerosol spread. It's not as significant, but it's there. So I thought that was very good advice. Think about that as an analogy of smoking, that, you wouldn't want to be around somebody 2 feet from them talking for 15 minutes, or you're going to, smoke your own pack there while they do. And it's, secondhand smoke's been a risk factor we've known for a long time. This is sort of like secondhand virus. You need to be very careful.
And, and you just coined that phrase here on JP, Kathy, and the Crew.
So you're
That's
mainly
right.
talking
I'm
about
copyright what they meant before you can.
So you're mainly talking about when you're talking with someone and you're not wearing a mask, correct? If you're wearing a mask,
I'm talking about primarily whether it's outdoor and you're talking to them closely, or more likely indoor, especially if you have singing, laughing, talking, chatting, whatever, for several minutes, like at a meal, at a bar, and unfortunately at church. That's one of the biggest issues I think a lot of people have had with the virus and the shutdown and such is we can't meet at church. But, if you got a bunch of people, we know the observation of the church fire where somewhere around 80% of people got the virus from a practice because they were all singing in close proximity and didn't have masks on. And, it's a risk factor. You just have to be careful. And so if you go in a restaurant, immediately, you wear your mask going in, immediately take it off, spend an hour sitting there at the table talking. Picture if you were sitting at the table smoking. Now, don't start smoking just to try this, by the way. But
So
Don't try
if
this
you
at
were
home.
sitting at a table smoking and you spent an hour doing that, would you think everyone in the restaurant would realize that you're smoking? I would say yes.
Yes.
And if you think about the virus, if you're closer to that person who may be a carrier, then you may get it much more easily than someone across the room. But over an hour's time, it can spread in that airspace and be a problem. So, we still have to be careful about masking. And I know it's become a huge issue. There are anti-maskers out there that, are probably at this point willing to beat up most anybody to defend their right to not wear a mask. But, if we think about this, even in a school setting, if you're in a classroom for a while with somebody who's an asymptomatic shedders of the virus, and you pick it up and you go home to your grandmother and infect her and she passes away from COVID, that's a pretty serious issue. I know there are people that say we don't want masks in school because it's unfair to the kids or whatever, but I think we got to be realistic about carrying that virus around and being careful.
Dr. Clothier, what about, like for me, for example, I wear glasses. And so I fog up my glasses as I'm walking to the grocery store.
Yes.
Yes,
What
you
about-
need to learn Braille.
Right, no doubt. So, but I've seen people that will wear their masks under their noses. Is there an impact?
Yes.
Are you throwing out particles from your nose?
Yes, more likely from the mouth, just because the nose has its natural filtration in general in most people. But yes, you are still putting people at risk.
And,
the best I can
Dr.
tell you, and
Clothier, Dr. Clothier, JP does not have that natural filtration system. A little too much information, TMI. He gets his nose hairs waxed, so he has gotten rid of that. So he needs to cover his nose with the mask, right,
that's
JP?
the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. But
Thank you for
anyway,
sharing that with my doctor. I appreciate that.
I wanted you to know that before your next visit.
So you were saying though about covering the nose and the importance of covering the nose.
You've got to.
You see
you know,
people
the
all the
nose
time
and
not
mouth are
doing
both-
it.
That they are both areas where you're going to expel the virus, and it really honestly does no particular good to cover the mouth and not the nose. And I know everybody I see with glasses on in my office who has a mask on, they're all fogging up. And the best I can tell you is I think there is a way to get a better fit, with the mask. And I'm sympathetic to that issue that it's really a challenge for people, but the virus is a challenge for people too. And I think we have to find a way to limit the spread. And I was in a Walmart about, a month ago or so, and I think almost everybody had a mask with them. The problem was, I'd say 50% of people have below their nose, and another 20% had it down around their neck, where it certainly does no good, unless, I guess, you have a trach and you're,
Protecting
expelling air
your
there.
trach, right.
But that's pretty unlikely. And so I think,
Right.
we just have to become respecters of people. Treat others as you want to be treated. I don't want to be infected by someone else, and I don't want to go infect someone else. I will wear that mask in case I'm an asymptomatic shedder of the virus.
All right. Well, Dr. Clothier, I cannot thank you
Wonderful
enough.
advice as
Huge
always,
topic.
Doctor.
Huge topic. Maybe we can get into more high-risk activities, especially with school starting and all of that next week. What do you think,
Well, and
there, Dr.
possibility of
Clothier?
football and everything, or more sports.
I think
opening
next
up.
Monday is Labor Day.
Oh, that's right. It is
so,
Labor Day.
So the Labor Day after
Okay, yeah,
the
well.
Monday after that. Well, and also,
Yeah.
the tests now, they're saying that some of the tests that are coming out are more sensitive, and that you may test positive for COVID, but not have enough COVID in you, so to speak, to give somebody else the disease. So there's all of
Yes,
these different
and-
rumors out there.
that's another huge topic we need to cover is the idea of testing if you have no symptoms. Does it do any good? Because of that, possible pickup of a tiny amount of virus. We need to figure out a way to figure out who can shed the virus and spread it.
That's the big one. Who can spread it? That's a good one. Thank you, Dr.
Dr.
Clothier.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed week, all right?
Certainly. You too.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
It is currently 8:03 here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We are JP, Kathy, and the crew. We come to you live Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7:30 to 9 o'clock here on the JP, Kathy, and the Crew Network. Don't forget to join Dr. Good on Sundays at 8 a.m.
Yes.
for anything and everything you have questions about education. Don't forget to join The Lawyer Show with Jeremy Rosenthal as they do hard-hitting conversation.
Yep.
That's right.
Super
and he and I
excited.
sat down and had a conversation for his first show, and I can't wait to air that on Thursday from 12 to 1.
Looking forward to it. And that's it. So Thursday, and when else will that be shown?
We don't have a rebroadcast time. So
Okay,
Thursdays
guys,
from
Thursday,
12 to 1.
but for sure. And then once it's on, a lot of people have said, "Oh, I missed your show this morning, and then I had a lunch appointment, and I was hoping to watch it tonight." Well, you can. You absolutely can. You can go to our YouTube channel. You can go to one of our Facebook pages. I know those are places you can watch them again. And,
You can.
and before too long, we'll have.
You can watch it on Periscope.
Yeah,
You can
well,
watch it on Twitch.
Yeah, we'll have some different podcast forms out there for you. And then when we have the JP, Kathy, and the Crew website up and running, like JP has mentioned, you'll have a menu where you can just click on stuff for shows to happen, current shows happening, and past shows if you want to go catch them again.
And then go to Linktree now.
Oh,
and catch all
this
the
is
different.
fancy.
It's fancy.
That's fancy. That's a whole nother term that I
Yep.
know nothing about.
Jacob got us all set up on that.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So, what are we looking at temperature-wise today?
Temperature-wise, it's going to be hot again. We've got a high of 98 today, low of 78, currently 81. But then the next couple of days, we've got a bit of a cool front that's coming through. And JP, it's looking like we've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, possibly Friday, all rain. So just hunker down, bring your umbrella, be safe when you're out on the roads, and there you go.
I think we're going to be bouncing back and forth between hot and cooler, hot and cooler, hot and cooler.
then that's why everybody ends up doctor's office.
Yeah. Boy, no kidding.
Speaking of Dr. Norm Clothier, and I think especially we are hitting, like you mentioned, that time of year where you start having the rain's coming out, hot, it's 89 one day, 102 the next day, and you can kind of set yourself up for getting sick. So just take all of your vitamins, vitamin D. We need to do a whole segment on what all of us, like Charles and JP, what everybody takes as far as supplements right now, and have you changed those since the beginning of COVID? Have you added something? Have you dropped something? I'd love to hear from the crew as to what they take to keep their immune system beefed up.
I take whatever my wife gives me.
Smart man. As my husband takes whatever vitamins and supplements I have on top of our bread box. I'm like, what did you take today? He's like, all of those. All the ones you had setting out.
So we've got comments on the back. If you can see behind us, which you can, we put up your comments, the crew, as you participate in our show with us on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And, Coach Quigley put up there, I had to go to a store with my wife was out of town on 2 occasions. I wore a mask. I really stayed away from people. I did not like when people came up and got in my space. There are people who ignore your space to reach and get an item in the grocery store. I told them, step back, and they did. And so I can't agree with you more, Coach Quigley. My other issue is people that feel that they are healthy and fit and don't mind being around people who have been exposed to COVID-19, maybe even have COVID-19, and don't believe that they should have to wear a mask and will walk into a room with other people who have compromised immune systems or people who have loved ones who have immensely compromised immune systems. I've got a problem with that. I get it that you might be healthy and you might be great, but not everybody you come into contact with will be necessarily.
JP, when we were still doing our radio show, there were 3 weeks that you were solo because I didn't want to chance it. Now, it turned out at the end I didn't have it, but I did have a bad stomach. Thank goodness, but I did have a bad stomach flu. And here's the thing. I don't want you taking it home to your precious dad, Stan. The thought of, because there was no way for us to social distance at the other studio. We've got a lot more space here at Venture X, and we love it here, by the way. Hi, Chad. Hi, Leon. But back then we were literally right next to each other. And when you're talking for 2 hours, there's going to be the aerosol spray.
Right.
And the thought of your dad with all of his complications, especially right now, and him going in for surgery and things like
Surgeries.
that. Multiple surgeries.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it. And at some point you just have to be a decent human being.
Right.
You know, I mean, and the thing about the personal space, Coach Quigley, and before COVID, we had a thing on this because somebody almost broke my pinky finger one day at the grocery store. We had gotten to the point where we were so unaware of other people's personal space. And like, to me at a grocery store, it's just respectful not to be on top of somebody anyways. Right. And I remember I talked about this mother and daughter going down the aisle, and literally I'm like, ow, ow. My pinky had gotten caught in between our baskets. And it was like she was unaware the whole time that she's crushing my pinky. I had to lift with my left hand my basket off the ground to get my finger out. And I thought COVID was going to create more awareness for people. But I think there are some people who are just into their own little corner of the world that they don't care about anybody else's personal space. Because I've seen that I've been around people like that during COVID, where literally I've just had to back up and be like, okay, you go right ahead, because obviously you're in a bigger hurry than me.
Well, yeah. And yeah, please, it taught me, there you go, you can have it.
Yeah, go on.
I don't have to have it. Not
that's
nearly as bad.
I'm going to the bread aisle now.
Right. So we talked about Chadwick Boseman. And again, great actor, had a good message. He didn't overkill this whole social injustice thing. He did it in a way that was classy, didn't call for rioting, didn't call for looting, didn't call for violence, and he wasn't violent about it.
No, he was never. That's not his personality type. He was obviously raised. I haven't seen anything from his parents, but obviously he was. He was raised very well. He let his work and his talent, like in movies like 42, he let.
And I love that. I love that movie.
I bet you did.
I did. I love that movie.
He's one of those that he let his work be the change that it needed to be, and again, for Black Panther and especially, and I know all three of us were ginormous superhero fans and DC and Marvel, and we geek out over all these movies when they come out. That was really, really, really a big deal that Black Panther was nominated for an Oscar. I mean, it gives me chills just thinking about that, and his acting and the ensemble that they had brought together was a large part of why that movie was nominated. So,
absolutely, and we want to thank Charles for playing some of the pieces
yes.
from Chadwick Boseman and some of the movies he played in. That's the 42 movie with Jackie Robinson and Black Panther. Again, just a fabulously famous actor, and sad to have lost him at such a young. I mean, heck, I'm 5 years older now. I remember when nobody was ever younger than me dying,
and now it's interesting when it hits you. It hits, and all of a sudden you become very aware of it, because when you hear 43 and you're, in my case, 10 years older, I was like, and the fact again that this is a man who went on and still went to St. Jude's Hospital, and I'm not sure if that's for sure which, but one of the children's cancer hospitals, and would still go and visit these kids with cancer and come in as Black Panther, because and they knew he was a Black Panther actor and all this kind of stuff. He still, I think he wanted people to remember him as living and not dying, and God bless him, and God bless his family, his young wife. I mean, that's just. May he rest in peace, and thank you for leaving behind, even at age 43, a legacy of incredible work.
Absolutely. All right, so moving to sports, and I want to bring up, Chuck, if you could go to the email, or do I need to go to the email and bring up what Kathy sent over, and then we're going to lead into what's happening. So you went grocery shopping at some point, or went to the grocery store at some point. And what did you find in your local grocery store?
Thank you so much for asking, JP.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, this is a Tom Thumb. It's a very nice Tom Thumb that my husband and I have shopped at forever, for a long time. And one of the reasons, if you go there on a Sunday and it's during Cowboy season, you end up getting an additional discount if you're wearing one of your jerseys or something like that. We also they've got a section where they've got predominantly, they've got some other sports teams mixed in there, but mainly Dallas Cowboys paraphernalia and Texas Rangers paraphernalia. So we have purchased ball caps, and even for the kids back when they were younger, if they had a sports day at school or something, we've purchased T-shirts, Texas Rangers and Dallas Cowboys, ball caps, Texas Rangers, Dallas Cowboys. When we've had friends over to watch sporting events, the little, Dallas Cowboy napkins and plates and things like all this kind of stuff. Well, their jerseys and hats, and this is for both the Rangers and the Cowboys, they're never on sale. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
There's
No reason to put them on sale.
Yeah, even when there was just all of a sudden, okay, no chance of a Super Bowl last season. I was thinking, I bet there's a 25% off. Nothing. No sale. No. Rangers, no, not going to the World Series. No sale. It is what it is.
I'm surprised they didn't increase the price.
Yeah, I know. So,
we got to make up for no World Series merch.
You got to make up for that. But so Sunday we ran in to grab a couple of things on the way over to a friend's house, and my husband goes, "Will you look at that?" And on both the Dallas Cowboy paraphernalia, and you can see it up on our screen right now, and the Texas Ranger paraphernalia, y'all, it was buy one get one free.
Yeah, I saw your pictures there.
Thank you. I mean, yeah. And I stopped, and Michael's like, "What are you doing? We don't have time to shop." And I said, "Oh, I'm coming back next week to shop." I said, "I have to have an image of this to show to the crew on Monday because I'm dumbfounded."
You were almost speechless.
I mean, I just,
yeah,
like
there
I said,
it is on
I
a
stopped.
big
Wow.
I
Speechless,
stopped.
Kathy.
I know.
And there's the buy one,
Yeah,
get
I'm really
one
taken
free
aback.
there.
And so all of their Dallas Cowboy and Texas Rangers T-shirts, nice, expensive jerseys, buy one, get one free.
Yeah, there it is.
So I threw that out to y'all, to Corley and Charles and JP on our group chat. What the heck?
I'll just take the free one.
Yeah,
you can
okay. Yeah, Charles is like, "Oh, go ahead and Kathy, when you go back to the store this week, because I know you're going, honey, then I'll take the free one."
You're going to buy one anyways, Kathy.
So there you go.
So I'll just take,
send me your size.
I'll pay you for the free one.
Okay.
That would be funny. Walk up to customer service. I'd like to get one free, please.
Yeah, I just
I'll
want the
take
free
the free
one.
I'll just take the free one.
So let me know when someone buys one. I'll just go get mine.
That's right.
But I mean, and it wasn't, and that's why I took.
I'll sit right over here.
Yeah, I'll sit over here.
I'll get the one free.
Well, but if you look at this is why I took these pictures. Every other shirt section, groups of shirts on the little rounders and up on the wall, and their whole entire wall is lined with 2 different levels of shirts. Every other thing had this big yellow buy one, get one free. Like they wanted you to know, come into our section because there is a sale.
And buy them.
Yeah.
So, and I asked you last night because I was just curious. I was curious if
Yeah.
you were thinking the same thing I was thinking. And it turns out you were.
Yeah.
So why do you, I'm going to go ahead and just ask you, why do you think that that's the case?
And I think there's a number of reasons. I think one thing, I think we think twice before we make what would be considered, quote unquote, a frivolous spend. I think people are watching their wallet more closely. I know my family, I know we are. I also think if you don't have, like I remember rushing up there before we would go to a preseason game. And Michael and I each grabbing a shirt. Heck, I grabbed, we got one of my little purses, for a Cowboy game from there. My son, it popped up on Memories the other day, a picture of him before a preseason game with some Cowboy cheerleaders and the T-shirt he had on. Sure enough, we had purchased from this Tom Thumb. So if you're not going to the games or you're not going to a watch party, like, if you go to a watch party and everybody's bringing something, you wear your jersey, you support.
Right.
That's not happening right now.
Right. And that's, I'll tell you, that's one of the big things that I chalked it up to. Like, it was your number 2, right?
Yeah.
It was the fact that
Nothing to wear
People
it
are not
to.
going. Yeah, I mean,
if you're not going to the game or to a party to
well,
watch
bars
the game,
bars have shut down.
yeah, that's a good. I didn't even think about bars.
See, that's where my thought went to. People buying them to go to the bars.
Ironically, the guy who doesn't drink thinks
Right,
about the bar.
right,
But you're
right.
right. If you go to a bar on a Sunday, literally everybody there has on a jersey or a T-shirt supporting whoever their team is,
Yeah,
and a ball cap probably too.
always right. And maybe even
Yeah, that's
socks
a good
or a
point.
pair of
So
shoes.
yeah, if you didn't have a friend's house to go to, a bar, you don't have the bars to go to anymore.
Well, think about this, right?
Yeah, I didn't
think
even think
about
about
all of
that.
the pro football clubs
Yep.
that meet, right? You got the Browns club that
Oh,
meets.
yeah.
You've got the Packers club that meet at a certain place.
Oh,
you got
yeah.
the Cowboys that meet in a certain
yeah.
place. Well, all over Dallas, actually.
I was gonna say Dallas Cowboys meet everywhere, but no, like Steelers, you've got like little home bars where if you're a Steelers fan, you know you can go there on a Sunday and you can watch
Right,
that.
and they
game
have a
kind of
Steelers
thing.
club.
Yeah.
And Michelle just posted on there, I wear my KC gear when I go out. Well, and it's not just her, but also her girls.
Yes.
They wear their teams as well. So, and so Kathy and I are on the same page. We both believe that, and again, I think also not spending, although $600 a week for unemployment, that's an interesting conversation
That's a
altogether
whole
by
nother
itself.
conversation.
But just not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere to sport it.
You just
And so I don't see people
yeah.
buying it. So.
And I think I had one other reason. I can't remember what that was.
Well, it was frivolous spending. They didn't want to frivolously spend. Not going to
a game or a party,
and then not thinking about it. A lot of other things on your mind, not
I mean,
first and foremost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think like what Dr. Clothier is talking about. Let's say the numbers. Okay, maybe there aren't as many deaths that are just COVID or whatever the case may be. I still know people who have lost loved ones who are still devastated.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. It's almost like that was it. Have our priorities changed a bit where that's what sports used to be the end all be all.
Not
Heck,
anymore.
You and I literally JP Sports, our segment back in the day used to be a full 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Before and after a break. Right now, there's kind of some other things going on in this world that have made us say, okay, well, maybe sports isn't the end all be all. We still love it, and that's another conversation for another day.
Right.
I don't know that we're going to watch all of them.
Right.
I know there's some that I'll never watch again. I just won't. Yeah, interesting though. What does a crew think?
Well, so Marvin's put up there, I refuse to purchase anything because I think it's wrong to protest during our national anthem. Hey, can protest, just don't do it during our national anthem. And I agree
Thank
with
you.
him wholeheartedly.
Amen. Amen, Marvin.
And
Yeah.
let's see, Michelle says Casey and the Sunshine Band. So Marvin, there you go. You could always support the Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah, but you know what? He's right, and he's right. And that's a whole nother topic. It's not only that I won't even buy jerseys or ball caps, or
Right.
There are certain teams, and at this point, sports that I don't, at age 53, I don't think I'm going back to them. I don't,
Right.
the statement's not appropriate at this time.
So Gail Meeks puts on there, I've seen a lot of people posting they aren't supporting the NFL. And I tell you what, well, we're starting our own league.
We've got a whole,
We're looking at the professional paper football league.
Paper Flickers of America,
Yeah,
whatever we're
gear
going to,
up.
here at Venture X, we're actually
The
going to have an
VXFL.
alternative.
VXPFL.
Alternative.
Get your fingers worked out.
Yeah,
Because we do,
start
again,
flicking
we
finger.
are,
Start finger working.
yeah, up and down
Finger
and up
flicking.
and down.
Aerobic.
Just don't pick your nose.
No,
For finger
no,
flicking.
no.
But you can always go find
No,
us.
not flicking, not to be confused with picking.
Flicking
But,
to kicking.
but we know
Is it
because
kicking?
our members of the crew, they are sports fans. I mean, we had, with the exception of Dr. Good, we would always have a
right.
great engagement during our sports segment of the show. Again, it's taking a knee and protesting while you're getting paid $1 bajillion to play a sport. Go march in a protest, go start a nonprofit, go do something outside of your time while you're in uniform on that field. When our flag comes up, you better stand up. You better put your hand over your heart.
Absolutely. And leave God in it.
Yep.
Give me a break.
Because it's not God when you take under God out of the Pledge of Allegiance, Democrats,
Right.
by the way.
Yeah. All right. So let's now kick into sports. That's a segue that we're going to use and start talking about our Dallas Mavericks. And so we're going to go to the screen. Last night, the Mavericks get eliminated by the Clippers, but there is a questionable play where there's a huge flagrant foul and some dismissals from the game. Kathy, here's your 21-year-old cutie. Here's Luka.
Is that, he's wonderful, and the NBA is one of the sports organizations I'm not too happy with, and I hate that
Right.
because I was looking forward to watching him and seeing where he was in 10 years.
Yep, he's going to be amazing, I think. But here we
Oh,
go. Let's
yeah.
listen to his commentary.
You know, what can I say? It's 2 games in a row he did something like that. And I really didn't. I hope so. The first game it wasn't on purpose, but looking back at the fall this game, you know what I think. So it's just I don't want to deal with that kind of players. Just move on.
All right, and of course, that is the flagrant foul that Morris committed a second night in a row against Luka, and was, of course, tossed out of the game. Ooh, look at that. We got an ad, Chuck.
What was that?
That's ESPN running 30-second ads. That's what that was.
I thought Charles was throwing in some fun music for
No,
us.
that was going to be there.
Well, and what have I said about Luka? I said if he can stay injury-free, and I think there are people out there who would like to take him out and make sure he's got an injury that changes his career.
Oh, I would.
And that's so wrong. That's so messed up.
Well, that was your boy Ty Cobb.
Yeah.
My boy
yeah,
Ty Cobb,
it's just-
too.
I mean,
Spikes up. You knew he was coming. Get out of his way. Just let him have the base so you can continue to play professional baseball. So, yeah, the
That guy.
the Dallas Mavericks, they drop to the Clippers. They are no longer in the playoff picture. Luka can't do it by himself. Of course, the Mavericks
No.
look to, of course, improve, and I believe that they will improve dramatically over the course of the next year. And I think you're going to see a different Dallas Mavericks team as they get ready to hit the court next year, whatever that may look like. But the Mavericks, they lose. In fact, it kept under 100 points in this contest by the Clippers. And so they have been escorted out of the playoffs. But how about this? Not all Dallas teams have been escorted out of the playoffs. In fact, the Dallas Stars have gone on to commit to not being kicked out of the playoffs by winning 5-4 against Colorado Avalanche. They now take a 3-1 lead. What's interesting is that on their scoreboard, it says no in-person attendance.
at all
At all. I think it's interesting, though, that they put that notation on there.
already.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the only professional sport that has stayed very quiet during all of this COVID stuff and all this Black Lives Matter stuff has been the NHL. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, my husband and I were talking about how we're all about the NHL right now. They're not making any political statements, any kind of one way or the other. They're out there to play hockey.
Yeah.
That's it. And you know, that's what, you know, if you go to a concert, you go because you want to see people sing. If you go to a movie, you go because you want that movie to bring you into an escapism mode. The same thing is with sports. And good for the NHL for just sticking to what they do best, which is playing hockey.
So, you know, and here's the thing. Let's feed off of that, right? How about the fact that they decided that they're going to continue the season? They went up to Canada, put themselves in a bubble, didn't make a big deal out of it, and just are getting it done. And I love that. Everybody else has made a big deal about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and all of that stuff. Just don't get that. And so hats off to the NHL for doing what they've done and not making a big deal out of the whole thing. Now, Chuck, we're going to challenge you to Miro. You got to pronounce his name.
I gotta go
Is it Heiskanen? Hiskanen?
There's two different ones, right?
Well, no, Miro, though, is the Heiskanen.
Miro Heiskanen.
Heiskanen. So, defender for the Dallas Stars, huge playoff run so far, now has 16 points and set a playoff record as a defenseman. And, of course, Coach Rick Bowness says he's just going to keep getting better, folks. That's
amazing.
He's only a 20-year-old defender.
He's only 20?
20 years old.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, look for him for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, put that in your socks and smoke it, right? That's for sure. And then, of course, yeah, I love that. So, well, who knows? Well, and if I'm talking about your Dallas Cowboy socks, it may be time to smoke those bad
And they're
boys.
sitting on my dresser just waiting to see what happens.
Clean and not getting dirty.
Clean, not getting dirty at all.
Not yet.
Not wearing them right now.
Not yet. And then, of course, our other player, okay, I'm going to let you do this.
Valery Nutrishkin.
Very, very good.
Hey, 2 goals.
Nichushkin.
Nichushkin. See, that's why I let you do it. 2 goals to carry the Dallas Stars, again, to victory 5-4. So the Stars will continue. Tonight, they play the Colorado Avalanche. So tune in and
that's
support your
for
Stars.
the Stanley Cup, too. I mean, that's big.
Yeah.
If they win tonight.
Yeah. They move on.
Yeah. Well,
Nice, not the Stanley Cup. This is playoffs,
Cup.
though.
I
No.
thought, it's still playoffs.
Yeah, this isn't championship.
Is it semifinals or?
Don't get me lying. I don't remember now. Somebody from the crew tell us. Are we in the semis? Fred.
I don't know.
Fred knows. Fred, tell me where we're
It's been
at.
so quiet. You haven't said.
I think we're in the semis. I think.
I think.
Does somebody know? Come on.
Yeah, please.
think we are.
Please help us.
Or there's one more round. Fred, help me out here, brother.
Oh yeah, we've received 100 messages from Restream chat today.
Well, I put on 65 of them.
Oh, you did.
Just, hi.
Because
Hello.
you wanted to reach 100 and
morning.
get that trophy today.
How's everybody?
You wanted to level up.
How's everybody again? How's everybody again?
How's everybody now?
How's everybody now?
How are y'all?
How were y'all yesterday? How are y'all today? No, I'm just kidding.
Tell us something.
Good morning, Chip. Welcome. We're looking forward to meeting your friend Benjamin Franklin, by the way.
Oh yes, Chip. We're very excited that you were involved in a new show with your buddy Ben. And Chip said that maybe if everybody said the Pledge of Allegiance every day, that maybe kneeling during the national anthem would be harder. And I did say give props out because a lot of the schools I know, in particular in Plano ISD here locally, they are still, there will be a teacher or a principal or somebody who leads in the Pledge of Allegiance remotely. And then what a lot of my friends do, like my girlfriend Ann McQuay, who's working remotely with her granddaughter at home, she has a flag up in her workspace, her school space, and they still stand and say the national anthem and say it together, and they're super proud of it. So I can't imagine not starting off the school day saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
That's American.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's be American
Kathy.
here in Dallas.
You want to lead us?
In the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just a
Stand
second.
up.
Let me get the flag up
I was
there.
going to say, get the flag up. We got to stand.
Well, where's the flag?
I'm
Plus,
getting-
I'm
I'm getting
naked.
the flag
I
up
can't
there.
stand up.
Oh,
I'm
you
naked.
can't stand up?
Get the
Okay.
flag up there.
Well,
Well,
I'm connected.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
my
don't know
cord,
that we can
my
stand
cord
up.
doesn't go any further
There
than
we go.
that.
There's your flag. There's your flag.
Okay.
I'm afraid that my
Well,
microphone
okay.
won't do this.
I was
You
going to
want me
say,
to
we
put it-
won't.
put it
we
up on
won't.
the screen? I can
Yes,
put it up
please
on the
put it up on the
screen.
screen so we don't.
I'll put it
if
up
we-
there. There we go.
All right. Well, you
Of
know,
course, there's
you know
a-
who
yeah,
does
we don't
this
need that.
every day, right?
Oh,
Neil McCoy.
yes.
Every day.
All right.
All
I
right,
pledge
with
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, of course, you know. Good job.
We would have been standing up here, right?
Well,
My
yeah.
cords-
I don't know if we'd have been able
my
to make it
cord's going a
stand.
little bit further than yours. I don't know how. This is the most slack I've had in my cord.
That's
so-
all I've got.
Okay, I've got more than you though today.
You do. Yeah,
I
'cause
maybe
mine's-
could.
So
mine's
you're a
dead.
slacker.
Okay.
That's funny.
There you go.
So now here's the fun part, some fun trivia. Being a part of the American Legion and doing Boys State,
Yeah.
flag etiquette is very important. So I've learned flag etiquette a lot, and I love it.
Oh,
right?
and in Boy Scouts, I know Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. That was a really, really big deal for my kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there was a boy that did his Eagle Scout project in Frisco that created pits for retiring flags. And you can go on to their website. I don't know where it is. Probably Frisco.
That's an awesome Eagle Scout
thing,
project.
and you submit a form,
Yep.
and you can go and put it into the pit, and then I believe they come around and they retire them.
Yep.
That's
that-
really that was
and if
really
you have
cool.
never been part of a flag retirement ceremony where they burn the flag and there's never a dry eye in the house. Well, it's usually outside. There's never a dry eye, period. Yeah, very moving, very moving.
So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to do
well,
that.
and you took me. I don't know where I
We were
had
talking
something
about flag
pretty
etiquette.
darn. Oh, flag etiquette. So here's the deal. It's not one nation under God. It's one nation under God. People think that
Right,
for
there's
some
no
reason
comment.
there's no
comment.
pause. You do it.
Yeah, it's one nation under God.
It's one nation under God.
I
And
like
it's
to
not
say
one
under
nation.
God louder and with a little bit of pause for reverence.
Well, now it's louder is good, but they say
one
that
nation under God.
No, and that's something we've all talked about. And have you ever noticed the Texas pledge, which I don't know if anybody else knows the pledge for their state, or if their state, do all states even have a pledge? I don't think they do, or do they?
well, all the
for their
ones
state?
I've been in have.
Okay, but the Texas pledge, it's interesting. You can tell who's been around a long time saying the Texas pledge, because what do they do with their hand before they correct themselves?
Right.
Remember, not too
Right.
long ago, we
Right.
used to honor the Texas flag.
Right.
And so what you'll see a lot of people do now at political events, because we start with prayer, and then we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we say the Texas Pledge. And people who've been around a long time will sometimes start off with this and then bring it right to their heart, because it just
Right.
changed a couple of legislative sessions ago
Right.
to where you put your hand over your heart instead of putting it out, aiming, palm up towards the flag. So just interesting bit of trivia.
Well, and you may catch us playing a little bit of patriotic music brought to us by Randy Travis.
Love it.
So we're going to do that, and you're going to start playing his single as well as we interview
Love
him
it.
on Friday.
Yes.
So you don't want to miss that interview.
Can't wait.
As well as his new single gets ready to come out. All right. So local news, a lot going on here locally. Did want to highlight a couple of subjects that have come out. Big time. This happened early this morning. 3 dead, 1 injured in a Haltom City wrong way crash. That's right. The deadly collision was on North Loop 820 near Denton Highway. A pickup truck going the wrong way hit a car head on. A man, woman, and child in the car were all killed in the crash. The wrong way driver survived and was flown to a Fort Worth hospital. Police believe alcohol was a factor. They have not identified those involved just yet. But again, it's always the one that if there is alcohol involved, it's always the drunk that never seems to get hurt. And in
just
this, the whole
heartbreaking.
family wiped out. And so just very, very sad in prayers. Lord, we ask that
Yeah.
you embrace this family and accept them into your pearly gates.
God bless the family and friends who are left behind too. That's
Absolutely.
just so
All right.
unnecessary.
Leaders are trying to figure it out. They're struggling with what's going on in Deep Ellum. In fact, the mayor pro tem, I'm working to temporarily remove scooters from the central business district in Deep Ellum. I have requested extra police presence patrol, requested a review of the teen curfew ordinance to stop late night gatherings. 6 people shot in Deep Ellum since Friday night. That's right. It's been 48 hours of just violence. And what's sad is me and part of the crew were down at the Pecan Lodge barbecue place this last
That's
week.
near. Is that in the
we
Deep
were
Ellum area?
we were in Deep Ellum, and we had dinner down there. So Dallas police said the youngest person who was injured is a 15-year-old
scary.
who's now in critical condition. Police and a councilman are now calling for needed changes. Well, no, heck no, Dallas. Let's just defund the police department. Right?
Yeah.
Come on, Clay Jenkins. Let's just
Yeah,
defund the
don't
police
even get me
department.
started.
Yeah, it makes me mad. One shooting happened late Friday night, and the other was early Sunday morning. Dallas police said at times there are hundreds of people just hanging out in Deep Ellum parking lots and driving scooters late at night. Friday night shooting left 5 people injured, including a 15-year-old who is in critical condition. Early Sunday morning around 2:30 a.m., a 19-year-old was shot in the leg on Main Street near Deep Ellum. Dallas police said at least a dozen shots were fired. And so again, Dallas Police Association President Mike Mata said it's the large groups causing issues. So much for social distancing and worrying about COVID-19 being spread. That's for sure. Also, we have Lee D, who has shared with us that there was a horrible crash last night on I-30 by Buc-ee's in Royce City. Last night it had 30 shut down for miles.
And remember, that's where Justice David Bridges was killed by a drunk driver right in front of that Buc-ee's. So I think that's probably a place that people need to be real aware as they travel through there.
Well, and again, be careful for those oncoming traffic people.
Yeah.
You and I had that talk, Kathy, at the other radio station. Remember,
yes,
I told
we
you
did.
that, I'm always watching the cross traffic. Remember, I almost got hit.
Yeah,
And-
by a wrong way driving. And usually in these, unfortunately, usually in a wrong way driving accident, there is a fatality, if not both. In one, at least in one car, usually both, sometimes both. But yeah, I remember that. And especially because we used to go, we were out when it was still dark,
Right.
and you never know who's on the road just coming home from the night before.
Yeah.
Maybe hadn't had sleep yet, maybe had a few too many.
Right. Because
Well,
I
just on the
remember-
way here.
It's
Of course, I
scary.
come here. It's dark.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
But someone was on driving the correct way, but their lights were not on.
Right.
Oh gosh. Oh, everybody.
And I
keep-
tried to warn them, but
Now, of course, you got to be careful with that. because you get yourself shot.
Well, and see,
Because that was a thing.
and
But it
isn't
was they
that
were driving
sad
the same direction I
nowadays?
was.
Doesn't matter. That's also a thing, though.
That's
a
you
thing.
know, JP, you're
Or is it an
saying that
urban legend? I
It's,
don't know.
it's,
No, that's not an urban legend.
It's so interesting how back in the day, if somebody flicked their lights at me, I'd be like, "Oh, thank you," because either it meant I still had my brights on, possibly from having them on, leaving my neighborhood or something, or my lights weren't on. So you thought, "Oh," and you're like, "Thank you." But nowadays, you've got to be so careful what you do in your car. And y'all know my husband. This is his. He's like, this is how you're going to die. And because when I sing, especially if I'm a passenger in the car or if I'm driving, and if I've got music on, he said it looks like I'm doing gang signs. I think it looks like I'm dancing and singing. But just the other day we were out and about and he's like, "Kathy, stop." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "You're sitting here doing like jazz hands and all these gestures." And somebody, and I was like, "Well, the guy next to me, I think he thought it was kind of funny." And he's like, "But somebody's going to pull out a gun."
Right. Well,
And I was like, "Well, then you can tell me you told me so." And he's like, "No, it's not funny."
yeah, that's not funny. Well, it used to be a gang thing.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
but now
Gangs would
I think
purposely
it's
drive with no lights on and have you flash
technology.
and then pap, pap, pap.
and then that's it. Yeah.
Technology is our worst enemy because you have all those automatic headlights, and so people just don't know how to do them. And so I think it was a really young person, and they just assumed the lights were on, but you can turn them off.
Well,
And
don't
so-
forget you have children and a wife.
Well, yeah,
I'm just saying. So be careful.
almost finished.
All right. So a lot going on storm-wise. How many of you witnessed the high winds, the rain that came out of nowhere, the severe weather shift from hot to cold rain, and it started raining? Well, there were a cluster of storms in Tarrant, Parker, and Wise counties that left behind a trail of damage, and I mean huge amounts of damage. Of course, we were all bracing for the coastline.
Right. Oh, yes,
and,
yes.
you know, glad that Coach Quigley, your house was high enough up and that really hopefully there wasn't enough or a lot of damage. And so, you know, I'm glad to hear
very
that.
grateful
Now,
that
Louisiana,
everything-
not so
no.
lucky. Texas had some, but glad your area anyways,
Right.
Coach Q, was good to go.
Yeah,
But
Louisiana, there's some devastated areas, JP.
the National Weather Service found that the damage was caused by a very strong downburst, and there were no indications that a tornado occurred. Can you imagine that we now have secret, undetectable downbursts of wind that are as deadly or even more dangerous? Can you put this? Oh, you have, Charles. Can we make that the full picture? I want everybody to be able to see this. You see where that building was and is no longer there? That is from a downburst of air. I mean, a downburst.
Is that the image that's on the screen
Yes.
right now?
Look
Oh.
up there, Kathy.
What kind of mile-an-hour wind is that?
They said it was like they said they. Of course,
And that
no
was
tornado
that was not a touchdown of
No.
just a split second of a tornado.
that was just a downward burst of air,
Unreal.
and you're gone.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean to tell you. So, anyways, big time storms throughout. The view from above showed several mobile homes, buildings, and fences ripped apart. A microburst, likely 70 to 80 miles per hour, is responsible for destroying a number of RVs and literally flipping areas of the Azle community upside down. When it came through, it was wild, said Joseph Clark, whose RV was damaged. He took cover inside a shed. And then look at that. This is from the downbursts.
Is that up on the there? Oh my goodness!
This is from the downbursts.
And again, I look at that and I just think that looks like
Tornado.
yeah.
No, just 70 to 80 mile an hour downbursts. All right, we want to say good morning to Sandy Ramsey for joining us this morning, and Lee D. Coach Quigley says Burnell Ward, New Orleans' 9th grocery store owner, was just highlighted on GMA as he gives credit in his store to people who have no money to buy food during COVID-19. He was just awarded $5,000 to support the efforts and remove his debts.
Wow,
That's a great news story.
I'd
Coach,
love
thanks
to
for
hear
sharing that.
Yes.
And then Misty Bluebaugh says, I have a prayer request for my daddy. He fell Friday night and is in so much pain. We are taking him to the doctor today, get him checked out. And so also, please pray for my aunt who is fighting for her life in the hospital. She has COVID-19. And so, Lord bless the family of the Bluebaws and watch over her father and her aunt as we go forward in these times. And please bless all of us who have had struggles and have had difficult times, whether it be medical or otherwise. In your name I pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Lord,
So,
yeah, thank you for that prayer, Lord. Please, thank you.
all right. So, Marvin Johnson, those downbursts were caused by President Trump because he said we were going to Mars and it made the Martians mad.
That's it. It's all, yeah.
That's funny.
Yes, when all else fails, what does the other side do?
We'll blame
it
Donald
on
Trump.
President Trump. God bless him.
Well, before we start blaming Donald Trump, what's going on in the state of Texas? How about this? How about Governor Abbott and Clay Jenkins continue to go at it? That's right. The Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins and Governor Greg Abbott are arguing on Twitter about a proposed 2% pay increase for Dallas County elected officials. The Dallas County Commissioners are set to decide on the pay bump on Tuesday in an effort to make Dallas County's civil service jobs competitive with those in the private sector. Here, Kathy, I've got a question.
I might have an answer.
Well, you are a county commissioner.
Yes.
So this is why I'm asking you this,
Yes.
right? So is the 2% pay, because this says that it's an increase for Dallas County elected officials. Well, Dallas County elected officials aren't part of the civil service jobs.
Well, so
Is that
then
2%
my
across the
question is,
board, or is
well, our thing in the time for the budget cycles that I was on Commissioner's Court, we would do COLA, like a cost of living raise, and not always. I mean, I proposed, I remember one time, and that elected officials don't get the cost of living raise, so we can give a little bit of a higher cost of living raise to the employees of the government. Law enforcement, the people who work in the district clerk and the county clerk's office, and public works and all of these different offices, transportation, all who do all the work. So it sounds to me, maybe unless there's a misquote during a tweet, it sounds to me like this was just a proposal for elected officials to get a raise and not their employees. And if you're going to give a raise, you give it all across the board, or you don't give it at all, or you give it to the employees and not to the elected officials.
Right.
Because some of these elected officials, again, I understand you have to make a living. Oh, they're making a living over there in Dallas
goodness
County.
Gracious, yes.
Nobody's hurting over there.
Yeah. In fact, Governor Greg Abbott points out in Twitter, tell at Judge Clay J that the last thing he should do is give himself and other Dallas County elected officials a pay raise. He stands to make more than $200,000 a year.
And I'm sorry. I mean, really? And especially right now when there are people in Dallas that are living under the threat of being evicted. Yeah. There are people who cannot buy groceries. There are people who are at the mercy of a school giving them a hotspot access for Wi-Fi for their kids.
Right.
They're like Dr. Good has talked about with some of her kids who are in the Dallas and Mesquite area, and especially in the Dallas County area. They didn't have computers, so they've had to rely on, other options to get that technology.
Yeah. And
then he's going to give himself, what is he going to be making?
Raise.
$250,000 now? I mean, come on, really?
Yeah, it's out of control. Well,
Gee
and here's the thing. He came back he retorted with, well, Governor, you need to pay attention to COVID-19 and pay attention to Hurricane Laura and not bother with me.
Well, I'm
Actually,
sorry.
Clay Jenkins, you're a buffoon.
Yeah.
And we need to pay attention to you because of the way that you are mishandling Dallas County.
Well, and look at, and I'm sorry, we were, and Congressman Taylor was in here right before Laura hit, Hurricane Laura hit, and he was on a call with the governor, and he talked about how everything, all of the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Yep. And, things were done proactively. Now, we are very fortunate that Texas didn't get hit as hard as we thought we would, but our folks were prepared in the areas that did get hit. They're being taken care of in a swift manner.
Well, here's the thing. When you're efficient and you have a good team, you get to do all those things. So not only did he take care of Hurricane Laura and had 1,000 troopers ready to go, had the wet team ready to go from DPS, had already had the 23 counties identified, already had this huge call with the congressman from that area and congressmen from all over the state of Texas to provide support, had North Texas set up to provide support and assistance to those that might be displaced in Hurricane Laura, but he also has been working on COVID-19. And so, hey, Clay Jenkins, I'm sorry that you can't multitask and get more than one thing done at a time.
Governor Abbott can.
But Governor Abbott can.
So there you go.
As you would say, Kathy, suck it.
Oh, I don't ever say that on the air, though.
Well, no, but you say it
Thanks.
personally.
I know.
And so I like to say it on the air.
I say it in text messages.
You do. I like to say it over the air. Especially in that. He gets my suck it award. Take a big old egg and suck it. I'll tell you, somebody else that needs to
Lordy.
take a big old egg and suck it. How about the mayor from Portland? This
do
guy.
we have to?
We do.
Okay.
We do. I'm sorry.
Can you turn off my headset for this part?
We can do that for sure. But yeah, so Chuck, if we can go to the screen. So the mayor from Portland has a press conference and basically tells the president that everything is his fault, that the reason why we're acting the way we're acting is because of President Trump. The division is from President Trump. And so I'm going to let you listen for yourself. This is unbelievable. Here we go.
Do you seriously wonder, Mr. President, why this is the first time in decades that America has seen this level of violence?
You're going to have
It's
a lot more of
you
those moments.
who have created the hate and the division. It's you who have not found a way to say the names of black people killed by police officers, even as people in law enforcement have. And it's you who claimed that white supremacists are good people. Your campaign of fear is as anti-democratic as anything you've done to create hate and vitriol in our beautiful country. You've tried to divide us more than any other figure in modern history. And now you want me to stop the violence that you helped create. What America needs is for you to be stopped so that we can come back together as one America, while recognizing that we must demand that all people, black, brown, white, every color, from every political persuasion, pull together and hold all people accountable in stopping racism and violence. And we together are peaceful again under new leadership that reflects who we really are, we the people of this great nation. President Trump, you bring no peace. You bring no respect to our democracy. You, Mr. President, need to do your job as the leader of this nation. And I, Mr. President, will do my job as the mayor of this city. And we will both be held accountable, as we should.
So that's interesting. The president is causing us to undermine our own democracy. And I'm sorry.
And how dare he use "we the people"?
Right. Portland, you're an embarrassment. You are a countrywide embarrassment.
God bless the people there who are literally just trying to get by and trying to make a buck to put dinner on the table and pay their mortgage. I really do feel bad for the people who are just there trying to live their life and not make some kind of a third world state. Some of those images, I mean, there are parts of Portland, I don't think it ever fully recovers because some of it has just become a disgusting cesspool. And there are people out there that aren't making a statement. They're just out there getting high and looks like they're partying and whatnot and not even going to give them the full statement because they don't deserve it. It's just kind of like they're trying to create some hippie commune in some places, and then they're demanding free food from the people who are outside of this area.
Right.
It's
While
like
they're
a third
working,
world country. Yeah, and
working and paying their bills.
Yeah, they're going to their job.
And let me burn down government buildings.
Yeah. I mean, well, and what about the 19-year-old African American gentleman who he died from a gunshot wound?
Right.
The cops couldn't get to him. The EMT couldn't get to him because the crowd were keeping them away. Maybe that 10 minutes could have saved his life.
Oh, well,
And
more than
instead,
likely
his
would have.
dad was on Hannity a few weeks ago, inconsolable.
Yeah. Well, and of course, all the graffiti, all the destruction, and that's what your democracy is.
And that's what I'm saying.
In Portland.
So some of these, because these places, I mean, the things that have been written on some of these buildings and on streets and things like that, do you ever fully recover in those areas?
I don't know that you emotionally recover. The scars are deep.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this, right? So let's go
Scars
up to,
are deep. That's a good
let's
point.
go up to Seattle, right, where they're doing the same thing, and to try to create a barrier, they're putting concrete barriers in front of the police departments. And one resident actually had the nerve to say, well, I think it's a good sign that we're having some separation between the two with the concrete barriers. when you've got to put a concrete barrier.
Wait, what?
Yeah, between
Okay.
you and the police department.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we are running into an era now that we will not ever be able to recover. And what I mean by that is the emotional scarring is so deep. Generations are going to have to live with.
And that's the
these
problem.
barriers, these
that's
concrete
the problem.
barriers.
That's the problem. You're like, if you've got a generation right now that is looking and thinking, again, well, we talked about this, I think it was on either last Wednesday or last Friday's show, about the fact that we're raising a group of people who have no respect for law and order. They
Right.
spit in the face of it. They cuss in the face of it.
Well, isolation creates chaos because people want to be
Right.
with people.
Right.
Keep putting barriers up it.
Right.
So we've got to find a way to work around the barriers we currently have.
And of course, Slow
Agreed.
Joe offers no help at all. He wouldn't send the National Guard in. And I'm going to start calling him Slow Joe. I kind of like that.
Isn't that
That's what the president
and
calls
I
him.
think it's very good.
I like it. Slow Joe.
What did he say that he was going to go? He would start getting out and campaigning after Labor Day. And President Trump said, that's 10 days. This was last week. He said, that's 10 days away. He said, do you know how much I will get done as a president in the next 10 days? He said, 10 days is an eternity to me of endless opportunities to get things done.
Well, that's 10 less days that Joe might say something he
That's
regrets saying.
Bingo. Give yourself the applause from the studio audience.
Well, and
That's exactly it. Charles is spot
right.
on.
I'm waiting for him to have to quarantine right before the first debate.
Well, what did I say when I got in? There's kind of some talk out there on the internet. People are saying, what happens if he ends up getting COVID right before, or he's exposed to it,
See,
so
I
he
think there's going
can't
to
do
be an
it?
exposure with him being quarantined for 14 days. So that way he can do it from remote and have his people with
Feeding him
signs.
the answers.
Right, absolutely.
Gosh.
Absolutely. So there you go. Slow Joe, good job on Seattle and Portland. Wrong answer.
Yeah.
Help those people out. Unbelievable. All right, how about this? How about walking down the street? Get this headline in, Charles, if you can. How about this? How about D.C. protesters march, shine lights into homes, chant, "Are you home? Get into the street."
Oh, see, and
How about that for a day?
well,
What
and
does
then,
that mean?
yeah, well, let
Are you
JP tell
home?
this story.
Well,
The crew, have you?
no,
I
what it
wonder if
means
the crew
is
has heard about this.
Get into the street. They either want you, I guess, walking with protest with them, or they're going to attack you.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they're going to break into your house and attack you. I mean, it's just something else.
Gosh, I mean, come
Get in the
on.
street so we can come to your house and take your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy stuff. It is absolutely crazy stuff that's going on out there. It all appeared online, of course, with videos late Sunday night as people were chanting, "Are you home? Get into the street." D.C. has seen some violent protests, and that seemed to reignite Thursday on the final night of the RNC, where 6 officers were reportedly hospitalized after confrontations with protesters. Shelby Talcott had to say the crowd is now holding the intersection in front of Les Diplomats and giving speeches no longer directed at those eating, drinking. A waiter is offering water to the crowd. People in the crowd are setting off firecrackers and shining flashlights into homes here in D.C. as March continues. And again, when you look at these pictures, I don't know, Chuck, if you want to show this, I want to see if we can maybe get this to play. I'm going to hit play on this and see if we get something out of this. Firecrackers,
I was
smoke.
going to say, what is that? Is that a gunshot or
They're
are those
saying
firecrackers?
No, firecrackers. And as you can see, I mean, just walking down the middle of the road, you know, it's one thing to protest, right? It's another thing to start imposing your will on others. That's not what the First Amendment was about.
And here's the thing. Okay, if you go into a neighborhood, you've got homes that are people's private property. You have got, if you're somewhere after hours and it's late and it's a time when most people would be asleep, you're imposing on someone else. And I'm sorry, at some point, don't you want to feel like you've got a safe place? Don't we all deserve that?
I would think so. I mean, I would want to know that my home would be safe.
If this were, I mean, seriously, and I ask this to the crew as well, if a mob were walking down your neighborhood street, popping off fireworks, screaming, chanting, would you not be scared to death?
Oh, absolutely.
And now, is
I
that going to
get
make...
up in the morning.
I'd want to defend myself.
You will absolutely. You'd be reaching for whatever weapon you've got. But you know, think about, I mean, who does that? You know, who does that?
Right.
That's taking
this
it too
craziness.
far. That's taking it too far.
How European, how Middle Eastern does this look?
It's just taking it too far.
Help me out here. How European, how Middle Eastern does this look?
Well,
This is not America.
It looks like a revolution in a third world country is what it looks like.
Right.
I'm sorry. You know what? You work hard. You try to be the best person you can be. You can be anything in America.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're getting ready to head out of the show. We're about.
Is it almost 9?
It's almost 9 o'clock. We got Randy Travis that's going to be with us on Friday.
Yay, can't wait.
You know, you watch all of that. That's not America. When I watch this, to me, this is America. So, Chuck, if we can
Amen.
flip over to that, we're going to go out with this. Have a blessed day, everybody. And we'll
Mwah,
come
we
back on
love
and we'll
you.
sign off. But we love you. Have a blessed day. Here we go.
She stands in the face of evil and will not lose hope or faith. America, the land of freedom, is still the home of the brave. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand. Walking through the fires of danger, there are those who gave their lives. They're the world's greatest heroes, and we won't forget their sacrifice. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand. America is not divided. Our enemies, they will be stopped. 'Cause we the people are united, and still one nation under God. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand. History will write the story. America will always stand.
Still get goosebumps when I see all that.
Yeah.
Everybody have a blessed day.
We
and
love
we
you.
will, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Love y'all.
Take care, everybody.